What if everything you thought you knew about angels was only half the story? Most people imagine angels as gentle guardians, but the Bible reveals a much more intense reality. Among them are 4 extraordinary beings, chosen not for their gentleness, but for their immense power, acting as God's left arm to enforce His divine will. These angels don't just protect, they fight, judge, and even destroy when the stakes demand it. And here's the kicker. Their missions carry lessons that can change how you see your struggles today. Imagine facing battles so overwhelming they feel impossible to win. Maybe it's fear of the unknown, a temptation that won't let go, or the weight of fighting for what's right when it feels like no one else will. These angels, Michael, Abaddon, and others, hold keys to understanding courage, justice, and resilience. What could you learn from Michael's bold leadership in a cosmic war, or Abaddon's unflinching execution of justice? Their stories aren't just ancient history, they're blueprints for navigating your toughest challenges. But here's the twist. Their stories aren't just inspiring, they're uncomfortable. They expose pride, rebellion, and corruption in ways that hit closer to home than we'd like to admit. Why does pride silently sabotage our relationships? How does corruption creep in without us noticing? As we uncover their roles, you'll see these angels' missions mirror the battles within us all. And the best part, you'll discover how their strength and purpose can guide you to victory in your own life. Are you ready to dive into the truth behind these powerful angels? Angels have captured human imagination for centuries, appearing not just as messengers of God, but as powerful agents of His divine plan. These beings, often misunderstood as mere symbols of light and comfort, hold roles that can shake the very fabric of reality. Take Michael, for instance, a warrior so mighty that even Satan himself couldn't stand against him. Or Abaddon, whose name strikes fear as he carries out the will of God's left arm. Their stories aren't just ancient tales, they're lessons that echo through time. What would it mean if we truly grasped their significance? Satan, once known as Lucifer, is the ultimate cautionary tale. Described in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, he was adorned with beauty, wisdom, and light, yet pride caused his downfall. It's like the classic story of a CEO who builds an empire only to lose everything because of unchecked ego. Satan's rebellion reminds us that pride often blinds us to reality. Have you ever thought about where pride might be hiding in your own life? Sometimes it's as simple as refusing to admit when you're wrong. Reflect on the relationships or opportunities you might restore by humbling yourself. Michael, the warrior archangel, embodies courage and loyalty to God's cause. In Revelation 12:7-9, he leads heavenly forces to victory over Satan. Imagine being in the heat of battle, knowing you have a leader like Michael at your side. Calm, strategic, and unwavering. His story teaches us about standing firm in our convictions, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Do you have your armor of God ready? Ephesians 6:11. Maybe it's time to fortify your spiritual life with prayer and discipline, just as a warrior prepares for combat. Abaddon, mentioned in Revelation 9:11, is the angel of the abyss, commanding armies of locusts in a display of judgment that's as terrifying as it is just. At first glance, it might seem cruel, but think of it like a surgeon removing a tumor. It's harsh, but necessary for healing. Abaddon reminds us that sometimes destruction is part of God's plan to bring about renewal. Is there something in your life that needs to be torn down so something better can be built? Maybe it's an unhealthy habit or toxic relationship holding you back. And then there's Belial, whose name itself means worthlessness or lawlessness. In 2 Corinthians 6:15, Paul uses him as a symbol of evil, contrasting Christ's righteousness. Think of Belial as the seductive voice whispering, "Just this once, it won't hurt." But those small compromises can snowball into a life far from God. How often do we rationalize our choices, only to regret them later? If you've ever felt the pull of temptation, Remember that recognizing it is the first step to resisting it. Consider creating a plan, perhaps accountability with a trusted friend or regular Bible study, to stay grounded. The roles of these angels reveal the complexity of God's design. Michael stands for protection, Abaddon for judgment, Satan for rebellion, and Belial for temptation. Together, they illustrate the tension between good and evil that we all feel within ourselves. It's like standing at a crossroads, with one path leading to light and the other to shadow. Have you ever noticed how the smallest decisions can have the biggest ripple effects? Maybe today is the day to choose the path that aligns with your faith. Satan's story begins with grandeur, as he was originally known as Lucifer, the morning star. Crafted in perfection, he stood above all angels, a radiant reflection of God's glory. Ezekiel 28:12-15. But with beauty came pride, and pride turned into rebellion. It's like a rising star in a company who starts thinking they're bigger than the team, only to face a hard fall. Satan's pride shows us that the very gifts we cherish can become traps if we lose sight of their purpose. Lucifer's fall is vividly captured in Isaiah 14:12-15, where his ambition to ascend above God led to his downfall. He said, "I will make myself like the Most High," a phrase that reveals the root of sin, self-exaltation. It's a cautionary tale for anyone who's ever thought, "I can handle this alone." Have you ever taken on too much only to realize it led to burnout or mistakes? Satan's story reminds us that humility isn't weakness, it's wisdom. What's striking about Satan's pride is how subtle it was at first. He didn't outwardly rebel. He began with thoughts of grandeur, which grew into action. It's like a crack in a dam, small at first, but capable of unleashing destruction over time. This raises the question, are there areas in your life where pride might be seeping in unnoticed? Maybe it's refusing to ask for help or holding on to grudges. Identifying these cracks is the first step to healing. When Satan was cast down, he became the ultimate adversary, turning his rebellion into a mission to oppose God and humanity. This transition is both chilling and instructive. Think about it. When have you let one failure or disappointment define you? Satan's choice to cling to his pride instead of seeking redemption highlights the danger of doubling down on mistakes rather than learning from them. Could forgiveness of yourself or others be the key to breaking free? Even in his fallen state, Satan continues to use pride as his weapon against humanity. Consider the temptations of Jesus in Matthew 4, where Satan tried to exploit pride to derail God's plan. He whispered promises of power and glory, much like the temptations we face daily, the allure of recognition, wealth, or control. How often do we find ourselves chasing these things at the expense of our spiritual health? Reflecting on Jesus' response, grounded in Scripture, can guide us when faced with similar trials. One practical way to guard against pride is through gratitude. When we actively thank God for our blessings, we shift the focus away from ourselves. For instance, you could start each day by listing 3 things you're grateful for. This small habit builds a mindset of humility, counteracting the pull of self-centeredness. How might your relationships change if you approach them with more gratitude and less ego? Satan's pride didn't just affect him, it corrupted others. In Revelation 12:4, we learn that he led a third of the angels into rebellion. This serves as a stark reminder that pride is contagious. Think about group dynamics at work or in your community. How often does one person's arrogance create discord? If you notice this happening, consider being a voice of humility and reconciliation. Sometimes a simple act of kindness can shift the atmosphere. Michael stands as the ultimate symbol of divine strength and protection. Described as the leader of heavenly armies in Revelation 12:7-9, Michael defeats Satan and his forces with unwavering resolve. He's not just a warrior, but a protector, embodying the perfect balance of power and purpose. Picture a seasoned general leading troops into battle, confident and unshaken. Michael is that, but on a cosmic scale. Have you ever wondered what it takes to have such unshakable faith and courage? In Daniel 10:13 and 12:1, Michael is described as the guardian of God's people, stepping in during times of great conflict. Imagine having a defender so powerful that even the darkest forces cannot prevail against him. Michael's role invites us to reflect on the battles we face daily, whether they're spiritual, emotional, or relational. How often do we forget that divine protection is available when we feel overwhelmed? Perhaps it's time to ask, who or what is fighting for you? One of the most inspiring lessons from Michael is his obedience. Unlike human leaders who sometimes falter under pressure, Michael executes God's will without hesitation. It's like a disciplined soldier who trusts their commander implicitly. This challenges us to think, how often do we hesitate to follow God's guidance? Maybe there's a decision you've been putting off, afraid of the outcome. Michael reminds us that trust and action go hand in hand. Michael's victories are also a testament to preparation. A warrior doesn't enter battle unarmed, and neither should we. Ephesians 6:10-18 speaks of the armor of God, urging believers to equip themselves with truth, righteousness, faith, and more. How can you arm yourself spiritually? One practical step is committing to a daily prayer routine, treating it as essential as a warrior sharpening their sword. What would change in your life if you took that discipline seriously? There's also something deeply comforting about Michael's role as a protector. In Jude 1:9, he contends with Satan over the body of Moses, showing that even in death, God's people are not abandoned. Think about that. How often do we fear what's beyond our control, like illness or loss? Michael's story reassures us that we are never truly alone, even in our most vulnerable moments. Could this truth help you face your fears with greater confidence? Michael's battles aren't just cosmic, they're personal. Each victory reflects God's power working through him, which is a reminder of what faith can accomplish. Think of a time when you felt outmatched by circumstances, only to find strength in unexpected places. Perhaps it was a kind word from a friend or an inner resolve you didn't know you had. Michael shows us that even the fiercest battles can be won when we lean on God. Finally, Michael's story isn't just about victory, it's about perseverance. Revelation 12 shows a war that wasn't won in an instant, but required steadfastness. How often do we expect quick results, only to feel discouraged when things take time? Michael's example teaches us to stay the course, trusting that the outcome is worth the fight. What battles in your life might require that same kind of perseverance today? Abaddon, the angel of judgment, stands as one of the most enigmatic figures in biblical lore. His name, meaning destruction or abyss, Revelation 9:11, instantly evokes both fear and reverence. Tasked with unleashing plagues and chaos, he serves as God's left arm in executing divine justice. Picture a surgeon with a scalpel. His role is not to destroy without reason, but to remove what corrupts. Have you ever considered how destruction can sometimes clear the way for something better? In Revelation, Abaddon is described as the king of the locusts, leading an army that darkens the skies. This vivid imagery might feel apocalyptic, but it's not about senseless devastation. It's about purging evil to bring renewal. Think of controlled burns in forestry, where fire clears dead growth to allow new life to thrive. What in your life feels like a destructive force, yet might be creating space for something greater? Reflect on challenges that in hindsight brought growth. Abaddon's actions can be unsettling, yet they align perfectly with God's justice. His story reminds us that judgment isn't about cruelty, but about setting things right. Imagine a courtroom where the guilty are held accountable, not to punish, but to protect the innocent. How often do we shy away from accountability, fearing the pain it might bring? Abaddon's purpose challenges us to embrace the discomfort of facing truth, knowing it leads to freedom. One striking lesson from Abaddon's story is the power of boundaries. Just as he operates under God's command, we too are called to act within the limits of divine will. Think of the chaos that ensues when boundaries are ignored, whether in relationships, finances, or work. Have you set healthy limits in your life, or are you allowing things to spiral out of control? Perhaps it's time to reassess and realign. The symbolism of Abaddon also touches on the idea of preparation. When the locusts descend in Revelation, it's a moment of reckoning for those unprepared. It's a stark reminder to stay vigilant in our spiritual walk. Imagine going into an exam you didn't study for. The dread is overwhelming, but preparation through prayer, study, and reflection provides peace. How are you preparing for life's unexpected challenges? Abaddon's role is often misunderstood, but he ultimately points back to God's sovereignty. His actions are not independent but guided by divine wisdom. This invites us to trust that even in the chaos, God is in control. Think of moments in your life where things felt out of hand, only to later realize they were part of a larger plan. Could you find peace by trusting the bigger picture? Finally, Abaddon's story invites us to reflect on justice versus mercy. While he executes judgment, his role exists within the context of God's mercy for those who seek him. It's like a parent disciplining a child, not out of anger, but out of love. Have you experienced times when discipline brought clarity and growth? Abaddon's story isn't just about destruction, it's about restoring balance and paving the way for renewal. Belial's name is synonymous with lawlessness and rebellion, appearing in 2 Corinthians 6:15 as the ultimate contrast to Christ's righteousness. He represents the subtle, insidious nature of evil, the kind that creeps in through small compromises. Picture someone whispering, "Just this once, it won't matter," a sentiment that has led countless people down destructive paths. Have you ever felt the weight of those small, seemingly harmless decisions adding up over time? In biblical narratives, Belial isn't a figure who shouts, he's one who whispers. His influence is likened to the corruption that spreads through neglect, like a garden overtaken by weeds when left untended. How often do we let small acts of disobedience pile up, thinking they won't matter? Belial's presence challenges us to stay vigilant, keeping our moral and spiritual gardens well maintained. What weeds in your life need pulling today? Belial's corrupting nature is reflected in the temptations we face daily. Think of the allure of shortcuts, whether in work, relationships, or spiritual practices. It's like skipping steps on a staircase. It feels faster at first, but it often leads to a painful stumble. What areas in your life feel rushed or compromised? Maybe it's time to revisit your foundation and ensure it's built on integrity. One powerful way to combat Belial's influence is through accountability. In Proverbs 27:17 we read, "Iron sharpens iron, and one person sharpens another." This speaks to the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who encourage us to stay on the right path. Do you have someone in your life who can lovingly challenge you when you're tempted to take the easy way out? If not, consider seeking out a mentor or accountability partner. Belial's role isn't just about external temptation, it's about the internal battle we all face. His whispers resonate with our desires, making us complicit in our own downfall. It's like hearing your own thoughts echoed back to you, but twisted just enough to lead you astray. How often do we rationalize poor choices, telling ourselves, "It's not that bad"? Recognizing this internal dialogue is the first step to breaking free. Belial also symbolizes the decay that comes from ignoring God's guidance. In Deuteronomy 13:13, his name is associated with leading people away from God through false teachings and rebellion. Think about the distractions in today's world that pull us away from faith. Social media, endless work, or even toxic relationships. What would it look like to intentionally cut out those distractions and refocus on God's voice? Practical steps to counter Belial's influence include regular self-reflection and prayer. It's like performing maintenance on your car. If ignored, small issues can lead to major breakdowns. Consider setting aside time each week to evaluate your actions and seek God's guidance. How might your life change if you made this a habit? Belial's story teaches us that vigilance is key to staying on course. Now that you've uncovered the incredible stories of these biblical angels, it's time to ask yourself, how will you apply their lessons in your life? Michael's unwavering courage, Abaddon's commitment to justice, and even the warnings from Satan and Belial, all of them point to battles we face every day. Are you ready to stand firm in your convictions, let go of pride, and prepare for the spiritual battles ahead? The answers lie not in avoiding challenges, but in confronting them with faith and resilience. Think about it. What's one step you can take today to reflect the strength of these angels? Maybe it's starting your day with intentional prayer, like asking God to give you Michael's courage. Or perhaps it's identifying a crack in the dam of your life, a small temptation or unchecked pride, and addressing it before it grows. These are not just stories to admire, they're roadmaps for transformation. Which lesson speaks to you most, and how will you act on it? Let this be the beginning of a deeper spiritual journey. If these powerful angels could fulfill God's purpose with unwavering faith, imagine what you could do by leaning into His strength. You don't need to face these battles alone. God's left arm is extended to guide and protect you. So, what's holding you back from stepping into this truth? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What resonates with you most? And what will you do differently starting today? If you found these stories as transformative as I did, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button and activate notifications so you never miss another opportunity to deepen your understanding of God's Word. Let's walk this journey together, one story at a time, as we uncover more of His mysteries and apply them to our lives. Until next time, stay strong in faith and keep seeking the truth.